Talk about. Let me go back and let's wrap up the 2021-2022 session as far as your objectives on the income tax. Yes, sir. You got anything you want to mention here?
2021.
2022 session. Let's wrap up the conversation.
Yeah, we were talking before the break about how the automobile thing would work. Yeah. A lot of people don't realize that a lot of industries already enjoy a reduced tax rate. General tax rate in Mississippi is 7%, but automobile taxes are only 5%. Sales tax. Under our proposal, we'd go to raise that 2.5 cents like we did for the general rate, which would take it up to 7.5. So, if you purchased a $20,000 automobile, the increase in tax that you would pay is $450. Mm-hmm. Now, I would argue that an individual that's going to pay $20,000 for a car is not going to walk away from that because they got to pay another $450.
Realizing that they've gotten the personal income tax.
But here's the thing: if statistically people buy a new car once every 7 years, let's just use that as an average. Mm-hmm. Keep in mind under our plan, we exempt the first $40,000 of income. That return is $1,500 back into your pocket, in my pocket, and everybody else's pocket. All God's children get $1,500 back. So I'm giving you $1,500 back this year, and next year, and the next year, and for the next 7 years. I'm giving you $1,500 back into your pocket. That's $1,500 that you normally pay to the state of Mississippi. You get to keep. So if you say, well, people are going to buy, it's going to affect the sale of cars, I would argue it's actually going to be the reverse, because you're going to get $10,000. I think the math's right. 10 times, $1,500 times 7, I think comes out to be around $10,000.
You should be able to recoup that $400.
So not only am I giving you enough money back to cover that $450 in tax, I'm giving you another $10,000 to go buy a more expensive automobile. And if and the number on a $60,000 car is only $1,500 in tax. So my point is, the individual gets more money in their pocket. They can not only cover whatever increase in tax that may exist, they got more cash to buy a more expensive automobile.
But when you came into this, it was carefully balanced, because the number that everybody's concerned about is, at the end of the day, it's got to make up that deficit of where we were getting the income tax, and that number was what, $2.5 billion? No, it's
1.7 billion.
So you got to make that up. So anytime you change that formula, you got to find another place. Can the economists do that?
Oh yes, absolutely. The 1 cent of sales tax generates about $400 million. Mm-hmm. So if you do 2 cents, that's $800 million. You do 2.5 cents, you're at $1 billion. So that's under our plan, we recover $1 billion of that through the sales tax, and then the other $700 million is phased out through growth over a number of years. The reason the sales tax is so advantageous is that you're expanding your pool of taxpayers. Not everybody pays income tax right now, but everybody's buying stuff. And even that drug dealer on the street with $3,000 in his pocket, he ain't paying income tax, but he's buying stuff. So you capture him plus everybody else, and the burden is lighter on everyone because you're broadening your pool of taxpayers, plus you capture your out-of-staters who come here and buy stuff who are not paying income tax. And that's why the sales tax is such a preferable and advisable way to go.
Other than the disagreement with the House, the Senate had, that you guys just didn't work with them and didn't present this, it was cold turkey according to them. Well, other than that, what were some of the other major objections as far as the numbers are concerned?
No one has presented to me a policy reason why this is a bad idea.
From the governor's office or
political reasons, and there are self-serving reasons, but no one has presented, and this thing's been out there for over 2 months now, no one's come forward, in my mind, with any reason why, from a policy standpoint, this is a bad idea. The economists at Ole Miss took this plan and looked at it and said it would result in an increase in gross domestic product of $371 million to the state of Mississippi. It results in prosperity and economic prosperity for the citizens of our state.
So as Speaker of the House, are you telling us that you think you have a pretty good chance for a bill to be presented and dropped in the House and Senate that you both have agreed upon?
Yes, sir.
By the time 2022 gets
I'm confident we're going to do that. The Senate has expressed, in fact, you and I were talking off. Well, I was going to say camera, but I don't know if we're on camera.
Well, off camera, off mic, off everything.
Whatever. We are on camera because you got it broadcast over here. But we were talking during the break that about Gary Harkins, and let's just take a side note there. As many people may or may not know, Gary Harkins is a long-time Rankin County and big operative in the Republican Party, good friend to me and everyone else who's ever been in politics. He sadly passed away this week. His son Josh is the chairman of the Finance Committee in the Senate. Josh is a good friend of mine. He and I have had conversations about this. He's expressed great desire to work and find a way to make this happen. So I'm confident that working with Josh, we're going to be able to find a way.
Philip, you had any chance to look over the census and you see how we're compared to the rest of the states that do have no income tax?
I just saw...
as far as growth patterns.
I have not had a chance to look at the census. I know what they are. I just saw that we were statistically flat. I think we were down like 6,000 residents, but statistically that's a flat number.
Before we run out of time here, and it just goes too fast, your thoughts as far as the Medicaid initiative that apparently the Hospital Association is going to go through.
I think it's a horrible way to make policy. The initiative process is just a horrible way to make policy, and I want people to understand what they're saying. The Medicaid, this gets lost in the discussion. Who pays for that? The taxpayers pay for that. Any amount of money that the government spends, the taxpayers are paying for that. And so the people out there need to realize what they are saying if they support such a thing. They are taking more money out of their own pockets to pay additional government services, and it's just not sustainable in the state of Mississippi. And we strongly are opposed to that. We're trying to get the word out to people. Please don't get tricked. And I think a lot of people do get tricked in the initiative process. The full story is not told. They are told, and I'll take the one to fully fund MAP a few years ago. They say, hey, do you want your schools to be funded? Sure. Well, who doesn't want that? But they didn't read the fine print. They don't understand the ramifications of that. But I would argue the same thing about the medical marijuana.
I understand that.
It's a 7-page document. How many people out there who voted for medical marijuana read the 7 pages and understood the ramifications of that? They just